Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. Well, today I am very excited because after even more work in a creative mode test world, I have finally managed to crack the problems I was having with the raid farm. So today we are going to head out to the raid farm site. We are going to fix all of the problems I was having with it, and hopefully we should end up with a raid farm that is absolutely 100% working right, which is great. You might not have been able to tell yesterday, but I was kind of feeling a little bit downtrodden as a result of the raid farm not really working the way I wanted it to, but all of my best ideas seem to come to me after I am finished editing a video. And I finished editing that video and I had a couple of thoughts and I put them into action this morning and they worked flawlessly in a creative test world, so let's hope that it's going to work flawlessly when I rebuild it here in survival as well. But I have brought a few more friends over. I've got myself a whole fleet of pillager friends at this point, which are now going to be populating the town of Founders Forge a little bit later on. Just thought I would update you on that situation. There are 11 of them so far. I'm planning on getting at least 20 so that they can be in the various houses and shops and stuff in the town. But today we're going to be fighting pillagers. That's right. Let's head back over to the raid farm and let's outline the problems and I'll tell you how to solve them. Okay, welcome back to the raid farm where I've managed to install another villager up here, and we need to get rid of these boats for a start. There are a lot of these guys just kind of accumulating around the inside here. This whole setup is going to change quite dramatically over the next little while, and the last thing I want right now actually is to have bad omen, because I don't want to trigger a raid while I'm making some improvements to this. So I need to go and find myself a cow before I set off the raid here at the farm. But there are 4 problems I see with this farm right now, and we are going to be able to resolve 3, if not 4 of them in today's episode. The 4th one is probably going to take a little bit of time, so it might be something to do off camera. It's not really all that important, but it is something that we can fix. But first of all, let me find a cow, let me drink some milk, let me get rid of this bad omen effect, and then we'll head back to the farm. Hopefully there won't be any more pillager captains to contend with, and I can outline what the issues are. So issue number 1, first and foremost, the pillagers need to be able to see this villager in the middle, but the fact that the villager in the middle is open and a target means he is also a target from evokers. So we need to separate out the pillagers who need to be lured in by this villager from the evokers. How do we do that? We are going to split this farm in half. One half of it is going to be for the spawning of pillagers, the other half of it is going to be for the raid mobs, and the raid mobs will actually not be able to see this villager at all, because they're only going to be able to come out of one side of this central platform, and the pillager is going to be completely walled off. We're going to bring a ton of glass over. In fact, I've got it all here in this shulker box, and we're going to use that to partition the farm off. So basically, we're going to lose half of the area that could be used to spawn pillagers on this side, but the pillager spawn problem is something we're going to tackle a little bit later as well. Problem number 2 is how they get down into that central area so that we can attack them. Now, that is going to be resolved partly by the partitioning off of the area where the raid mobs are going to be. For a start, we're going to have them all swept to one side over here, and they're going to be separated out from the pillagers who are still going to be coming down this drop shaft here. So the new area for the raid mobs is going to be over there, separating those two out, and it's going to be a lot easier to make them fall down there because we're going to have a wider area for them to drop down into. This also eliminates problem number 2.5, and that is the pillagers getting caught in this lava block. Some people did note that if we moved the lava block 1 block up, it would be possible to kill ravagers because they just bob up and down on the surface of the water while leaving the pillagers and so forth alone. So that is what we're going to do, but we're going to have a row of lava blocks 3 blocks up over here, and that's going to take care of the ravagers while allowing the pillagers, vindicators, witches, and evokers to all fall into a trap down here. It's actually going to divide them up pretty effectively. Problem number 3 is that this platform actually does not have adequate area to spawn every single wave of the raid, and frequently I have found that raids have ended before they reach a final wave because there just isn't enough spawnable area in this platform, and the attempts the game makes to spawn a raid in a spawnable space up here actually fail occasionally. And I thought that was because of the amount of open caves underground. It turns out it's just the game checking for valid spaces to spawn that wave of the raid and not finding them, thanks to the fact that there isn't enough open space on this platform that is not occupied by water. But we still need the water streams to be there in order to push the raid mobs off. We could do something with ice and flying machines to make it slightly faster, but that also requires a lot of technical setup, and the solution I've got for this is actually pretty simple, still with spawnable area, still with water streams, but traveling in one direction and spacing out the water streams differently for the greater effect, to be able to spawn every single wave of the raid while still making sure that they can travel off of the platform and into the trap we're going to set for them. And problem number 4 is simply the fact that we do not get a great deal of efficient pillager spawns around here, thanks to the fact that there are caves and open spaces around here where other hostile mobs can spawn. And that is something we're probably not going to work on too heavily today, because that involves just a lot of lighting up of caves and making sure that there are not valid spawnable spaces for other hostile mobs in this area. So obviously removing a lot of the terrain from around here has saved us that problem, but I am going to have to make sure we do a little bit of digging around here, make sure we have adequate lighting in some of these caves to make sure that pillagers will be able to spawn up here frequently. And if we have too many pillagers spawning up here, then that's going to be okay, because we can always reduce the spawnable space up here in the fullness of time. But the first 3 problems, the first, well, 3.5 problems, I think, we are going to tackle today. And I'm so happy that I was able to get another villager installed in here, because he is going to be staying there now for the foreseeable future. So the first thing I'm going to do is change up this platform a little bit. We've been working with a design that is 5x7. We actually want it to be 5x9 in the finished design, just to make sure that ravagers can't get pushed out from the fences here. They don't spawn kind of intersecting with the fences and get pushed over the side and end up going into the wrong water stream, because that would present a bit of a problem. When I've been testing this in creative test worlds, it has not proved a problem with an expanded platform. So what we're going to do here is just set up a slightly wider platform. It's still going to be centered on this villager here in the middle, and technically speaking, it's centered on the village that we have further down in the ground as well. Directly below this block, we have our bait villager for all of the pillagers, and directly below that, we have the villager who is, technically speaking, making the village around here, the one with the workstation, who is allowing the pillagers and raid mobs to pathfind towards his location. So I've now expanded this platform out so it is 5x9. I've got a couple of spruce fence gates in here, and I'm going to be using spruce ones just to kind of illustrate where we need each of these water streams and stuff to go, just to make it a little bit clearer what is a fence and what is a fence gate. So we're going to be placing fence gates here, 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 and here, basically separating out so we have 5 individual spots where we can put water streams, and we're going to be placing those using some ice in a second. Before that though, I do want to make a few more glass panes, because I have seen that these are actually a pretty decent way of making sure the pillagers will float off of the platform nice and easily. So let's just completely cover the end of the platform with those. We'll pop those back in here for now. We'll be needing a lot more of this glass in a minute. We're also going to be placing fence gates above the glass panes here, separated out by 1 block each time, again kind of parallel with these ones here, to make sure that the water will flow down into these spots and not intermingle as it falls off the platform here. Now we're going to take these out of the way. Let's get rid of the crafting table too. Let's very quickly open up the shulker box and grab the ice, because now we need to place that here, 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 and here, and we're going to break that with a pickaxe to make sure all of the water streams flow individually off the edge of this platform. I guess we can add a single fence to each end of this here to make sure that it doesn't flow off the platform to the side that way. And now we're going to go back to fence gates, and we're going to add the row of fence gates that we added to the farm previously to make sure the water stops at the end of the platform here and allows the raid mobs to fall off. We're going to open up all of these fence gates like so. We can take this one off the corner now. We don't need that. That can float away. And now what we have is 4 spawning spaces of open grassland where the mobs are going to spawn, but pretty much immediately they're going to fan out and step into these water streams. We also have 1 water stream in this very central row of the platform, and that's the one they're going to try and pathfind towards, because technically they're pathfinding towards this block here where the village center is. So sooner or later, it might take them a second or two, but they should pathfind into a water stream that's going to take them off the platform and down into the water below. And that is that platform all set up. Those water streams are perfect. We shouldn't need to touch them again. Very quickly while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and take away the boats and trapdoors from the bottom of here, because we shouldn't need those anymore. Vexes should not be anywhere near this villager by the time we're done. We can also take out this lava source in the middle here. I'm going to be collecting that with a bucket so we can use it for something a little bit later on. We can also remove all of the fence gates from this middle section here, apart from this one, which is stopping the water from flowing down into this section of the farm. In fact, we could probably do a quick makeover on this a little bit later just to make sure the pillagers can fall down there, okay, because that's only going to be the pillagers and pillager captains who spawn naturally as part of the outpost mob spawning that's going to go down there. The raid mobs are going to go down a completely separate trap, which we're going to build right now. So I'm going to block up each of these water streams and block off all of the stuff that is currently flowing into the center from this side. This is the side with the open fence gates, the one where the raid mobs are going to be falling down into, because we're actually going to have the raid mobs falling into this section of the farm here. They're going to be pushed this way instead of being pushed towards the center and combining with all of the pillagers from the outside. And I really wish I'd thought of this sooner, because it would have saved me a little bit of hassle previously. You might notice that between episodes I've actually put water sources on the corners there, and that's to prevent there from being a flat piece of water here that didn't have a direction. So even if pillagers somehow pathfind into here or make their way in there, they will just be able to flow towards the center of the farm, and that's where the outpost mob spawns are going to end up. On this side of the farm, though, we're going to block this area off completely with white stained glass, meaning that the raid mobs who fall off this platform won't even be able to see this villager at all, and that's going to resolve the problem of the evokers being able to target that villager with vexes. They're not even going to know he is there. So we've pillared up here, and I'm just going to build a giant glass wall. I've removed the snow layer from this side. The snow layers are going to remain on those three sides, and those are going to be the sides that the pillagers will be able to see that villager from, and they'll still pathfind to him like normal, but the raid mobs aren't going to be able to see this guy at all once we have built a full wall in front of him here. You might be wondering what we're going to do with the rest of this side of the platform, and ultimately we're going to take it away. We're going to remove the ability for pillagers to spawn on this side of the farm entirely, making sure that only the raid mobs will spawn up there, and the outpost pillagers are going to spawn in a C-shaped section of the grounds around here, which is still going to give them adequate spawning space, especially once we've lit up the caves in the area, but it's just going to make sure that pillagers can't spawn naturally over here, because then they'll have nothing to target if there isn't a raid going on at the time. Now, getting rid of some of these trapdoors and using the outline of this shape we've dug out, we're actually going to build a large glass wall around this section of the farm, including on this side here. And the main reason for that is because in testing, I noticed a few times ravagers and some of the other mobs spawning in a cluster together would bunch together, and then the mob collision mechanics would kick in, and they basically spring outwards from the side, making it possible for them to effectively leap over to this platform from up there very, very quickly. So we're going to make sure they can't do that by just making sure we have a nice big wall around here to catch them when they fall down. If you're wondering why I'm building this entire thing out of white glass, it's mostly because it looks pretty, but also because raid mobs won't be able to spawn on glass, so they won't see this as a valid spawning space, and they won't accidentally end up spawning on the top of some of these blocks. It should just be them spawning on this central platform here. And a pillager captain has just spawned and is making his way down into the farm. Maybe we'll be able to use him to trigger a raid later. Maybe he'll despawn before that. Not quite sure. But yeah, we should now be able to start on this section here, which is where we are going to have a lava trap, making sure that the ravagers are going to end up getting burned up in lava. Now we're going to have to take this out and reorganize this section a little bit, because there's ocean behind here, so I will probably need to fill in these corners and grab something like some dark oak wood to fill in the back here. I've dug out 2 layers of that and filled that in with dark oak wood. Now I'm going to grab some of the fence gates that we had from earlier, and we need to make 2 rows of this, one that starts here and one that starts here, making sure the ravagers will be able to get through each of these, but they're going to be 3 blocks up from the ground, and this next row is going to come out 1 block diagonally like so, and this is going to hold in a set of 3 lava sources, which is going to be what burns up the ravagers when they end up floating over to this section of the farm, but still allows all of the 2-block tall mobs to end up flowing down into this space here. And that's where our 3 lava buckets come in. I'm going to put 1 there on this corner, I'm going to put 1 here on this corner, I'm going to see where they flow in towards the center, and I'm going to place our final one, I think, there. There we go. And that's the center of the farm. This is still an odd-numbered build, so we're going to have a central section dug out here, once I can put these buckets away. And this section here is going to be where the rest of the raid mobs fall down into an area where we can kill them nice and easily, effectively right opposite the area where all of the naturally spawned pillagers are going to find themselves. So I've dug down 2 blocks on this side. We're going to have a water source there, a water source there, and these 3 blocks in the middle are going to be dug down even further. We're going to dig these down until we hit around Y33 is where I'm pretty sure we have the killing chamber for the pillagers that are going to spawn around here. So I'm going to dig that down, just making super sure that I don't dig into lava or anything like that. I can already hear a couple of the pillagers that have fallen down here while we've been working on the rest of this farm, and I think about here, if I break out into the room, we should see in this direction yep, there we go, that's the wall there, and yeah, we are in. Okay, right, so this is where the pillagers are going to be collected. On the opposite side here, we're going to have a 3-block wide section where we're going to kill all of the raid mobs. We're going to keep this nice and simple for now, but of course we can put some hoppers underneath here. We can channel that into a storage system that's going to sort all of the drops we need to get. Emeralds, totems of undying, that kind of stuff, all separated out into individual chests. We could always just have it all go into a single hopper stream and sort it all out in a single chest as we go, but it'd be kind of nice to have some sort of automatic system to at least collect all the emeralds together. We're going to have to remodel a little bit of this underground section so I can get around to this bit here, but that should be nice and simple to do as well. So back down here, we need to make sure that this section here is blocked off with a few fence gates to make sure that the mobs can fall into this little 3-wide gap there, and then we can open up these water sources that are going to propel them into there. They shouldn't touch any of the lava streams at all unless it's a ravager coming in from this side. Of course, we will also need a set of fence gates along the edge here, making sure that the water doesn't flow out into this section there, but that should carry them all to the edge of the platform where they will fall into these 2 water streams down here. And then nice and simple, we just want a row of ice along this wall here. We can break all of that with the fortune pick, and everything is now flowing into place here, except for this one apparently, which was a ghost block for a minute there. So that should now propel all of the raid mobs into this water stream, into those 2 water streams there, or in the case of the ravagers, up there into the lava where they will burn up harmlessly. Even the ones with riders shouldn't be able to affect anything else that goes on in the farm here, and that villager should be perfectly safe. They're all just going to drop down into that area there where we can kill them with a single swing of the sword and collect the drops. The next stage of this is going to be blocking off this side of the farm and removing all of the grass from this side of the farm so that guys like this can no longer spawn over here, making sure it's just an area for raid mobs. So I'm going to go ahead and wall this whole thing off, remove all of the grass from the inside of here, and we'll be back when we're ready to test the farm. Hey folks, welcome back to the new and improved Pillager Raid Farm. We have the drop chute here for the pillagers, we have the drop chute over here for the raid mobs, and I have my camera account logged in so I can show you guys everything from the outside here. It's not quite as decorative as I would like. There's still a couple of places like over here on this side where I would love to have the dirt swapped out for some dark oak wood to make it look a little bit more presentable, but even so, from here we should be able to see this whole thing in action. I'm going to be switching to and from this camera view mode so that you can see what's going on. But now we have a pillager in here with the Bad Omen banner. He's got the captain's banner, so we should just be able to swipe at all 3 of these guys, kill them, and a raid should start. Now, hopefully, I built everything the way I did in the creative world, and everything here should go to plan. We still have our villager underneath here acting as the village center, so the raid gets triggered instantly. Switching to the camera account view, you should see that all of the raid mobs start to spread out and they immediately get caught up in those water streams. They will walk around a little bit here and there as they try and pathfind, but most of them should make their way over to the little trench here, and a bunch of them will start falling down in those water streams into that 3x1 in the center, and now they're all right here standing behind me, ready to be swiped at with a single shot of the sweeping edge. And we got ourselves a couple of emeralds in that. Hoppers here underneath the slabs are feeding into these chests here. We're on the second wave of the raid already, and we have 6 emeralds in the bank. That is perfect. We didn't lose any of the pillagers or vindicators in that first wave, so we are good to go for wave number 2. Which is happening more or less the same way. As you can see, pillagers and vindicators coming through. That one guy doing a little bit of a disco dance before he heads down into the tank. And yeah, this is working 100% as I intended it to. Hopefully we shouldn't see any other weird issues. Looks like they're taking a fair amount of damage on the fall, which is perfect. I think that's everyone. Just give them a quick swipe. Nope, we got one more pillager who was a little bit resistant up there on the top water streams. No worries. Wave number 3 incoming. This wave should have our first ravager, so we'll be able to see what happens to those. But everything is going swimmingly so far. Very happy about what we've got this far along, and yep, Ravager immediately goes in the tank. You see how fast he sprung off the rest of them, though? And once they hit up against this wall here, once the other pillagers and stuff are out of the way and have stopped jostling the Ravager, you'll see the Ravager start to push itself up into the lava. In the meantime, all the witches, all the Vindicators and everything are coming on down here, so we should just be able to give them a quick tap, and then the Ravager, once it's on this side of the water, is having a little bit of a hard time actually getting itself up into the lava. Normally, once they collide with this wall, they start hopping up and down with some intensity, but it seems like that's not happening here. So we might need to go along and... oh, no, there it is. It happened. There you go. Sooner or later, they do just jump up into the lava like that against the wall, which makes this very easy for us, and hopefully that should happen a little quicker on subsequent waves, but the Ravager is taken care of. I can come back down here, swipe at this Pillager, and we're on to wave 4. See how easy this is? This is so good, and I'm really happy I took the time to rework this whole farm design because it didn't need to be that symmetrical, and this is just making it so much easier to control where each of the waves goes. Wave 4 is going down into the tank. No surprises this time, just a couple of witches, Vindicators, and Pillagers. Once they've all popped down here into this little 3x1, we can just give them a swipe. That is all but the witches done, and the witches take a little while to take care of just because they've got regeneration potions already, and sometimes they drink health potions while you're attacking them. But looks like that's all done and dusted, and you'll notice that none of the waves so far have failed, so the game is pretty convinced that there is room for it to spawn a wave up there on the platform, and this is... oh, those guys were a little bit close to the edge, but nope, it looks like we've got everybody. This is the first wave that has an evoker, and as you can see, the evoker is not doing anything to the villager who is acting as our Pillager outpost bait. Nope, he is just hanging out there in the water with the Ravager. Hopefully these two should make their way past each other before long, and we'll find the evoker ends up down here, where we should hopefully be able to kill him nice and quickly. There we go. Evoker died instantly. No need to worry about vexes or anything like that. We should just be able to kill them with a single shot. And now we're just waiting for the Ravager to make its way up into the lava, which it is now doing. Fantastic stuff. It's burning up nice and quickly, and sometimes you'll find that they bob out of the lava if they're facing in the opposite direction, but most of the time they will just try and get up there and fail. Now, it looks like we did get a Pillager spawning as part of that raid, and that guy, yep, has just made his way down here into the shaft on the opposite side. So occasionally we'll have to turn around and deal with a Pillager that's naturally spawned as part of the outpost, but while the raid is underway, they should make their way into the water stream as normal, so that's absolutely nothing to worry about. The next wave is just a bunch of Pillagers, Evokers, Vindicators, and a witch or two, so that should be nice and easy. It's the final wave with the two Ravagers in it that has usually given me the most trouble in the past, but I'm pretty sure this one should be nice and easy to take care of. Yeah, we got one Raider left, just one Pillager, and let's see if this final wave spawns, because this was the one that was giving me trouble when I was testing this in creative, but I'm pretty sure with the 4 empty spaces we have up here on this platform, we should see the final wave spawn, no problems whatsoever. And there it is! Fantastic! So, you'll notice that the Ravagers get caught up in the lava nice and quickly. Should do a little bit of damage to the Evokers here as well. Some of the Evokers end up dying, but that's not a problem. We're still going to farm Totems of Undying from the ones that happen to get off the saddle in time. We'll take out whatever comes down here, one mob at a time if we have to, because the Ravagers are taking their time burning up in the lava, which they are doing. It's just taking a while for them to reshuffle and allow some of the other mobs to fall down here. That's our second Evoker, and we should have a fair amount of emeralds. I have picked one up from that, so yep, now we just got one more Evoker, I think, left to come down. There he is, and the Ravager is finishing burning up on the surface. That is a complete wave of the raid, and victory! Ladies and gents, we have a victory. We have a working raid farm, and that was a piece of cake. I'm so happy this design has worked out. I'm really happy with that. Hopefully, you guys were able to follow along with the changes I've made to the farm, and you'll find this a working Pillager raid farm in your worlds as well. And of course, now we've got Hero of the Village. If we wanted to, we could go and hit up a bunch of villagers somewhere down here, or maybe somewhere else in the world, where they'll be able to give us all of the gifts and so forth. But the real gift is in here. We have 5 Totems of Undying, we have 48 emeralds, and sooner or later, if we do a bit of lighting up of the caves in this area, we should be able to have wave after wave, raid after raid coming down here, and it should be possible to farm these things in perpetuity. Now, this is, of course, not quite as efficient as the raid exploitation farms that exist out there. There's some very, very clever designs which actually spawn all of the waves of a raid at once. So we are going to tackle that design at some point in future, but that is probably going to be a little bit further down the line. For now, I'm really happy with this farm design. I'm happy that we finally got it working, and I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time at the end of this episode just lighting up some of the caves in the area so we can get slightly more efficient pillager spawns around the grass at the top of the farm, because as you can see, we're not really getting anything spawning right now because of the caves in the surrounding area. And if I just do the slightly cheaty thing of coming down here in spectator mode, you will see that there are a bunch of caves in this area which are spawning stuff like zombies. There are probably creepers and spiders galore. Wow, okay, yeah, that cave in particular probably needs lighting up because that's the perfect distance from me to that cave. The mobs down here in this cave are probably within a 32 block range of me, which means they aren't going to despawn randomly, and they're certainly within the 128 block range that it would take for them to, you know, permanently, automatically despawn. So we're definitely going to have to do a lot of lighting up of these caves in the surrounding area in order to make sure that this farm is going to be more efficient. But considering the amount of ocean biome we have around here, we're not going to be able to spawn-proof this whole thing entirely against hostile mobs because we still have the drowned to take into account. They will still be spawning around here. Not exactly in huge numbers, but they will still be taking up some bits of the hostile mob caps. So we have a few pillagers in here while I've been talking, so it hasn't been too bad, but of course it's the ones with the captain's banners that we really want in order to keep this whole thing ticking over. But I guess if we wanted to spawn a captain super quickly, I could always return to the surface here, fly around a little bit to despawn any mobs that are in the caves, just to make sure I was 128 blocks away from any of those caves, and then when I dive back down here, you'll notice a bunch of pillagers spawn. Eventually we should get a captain out of that, and we can trigger the raid a little bit quicker that way. But I think this has been a fantastic first test of this raid farm, and I'm super happy with it. I'm really, really happy with the design I've come up with, and hopefully you guys can use this in your own worlds to great effect, or maybe you'll decide to choose somebody else's design, but at the very least, I'm happy we finally got one working in this series after all the effort I've put in over the last few episodes. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Please don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.